Chak Shamash, everybody. All right. This is why I love San Antonio so much. We are packing the theater here to celebrate Polish food and culture in San Antonio. This is our Great SA series. This is actually the third installment. We've held prior conversations in this very theater on Mexican-American food, specifically on tacos and San Antonio, which how could we not? And we also held one right ahead of Juneteenth on African-American cuisine in San Antonio. And this is our third one, and it is all about Polish food and history. And the idea behind Great SA is we're talking about what makes San Antonio great. And the reason that we're focusing on food and history is because San Antonio was actually given a designation by UNESCO, and that's beyond the World Heritage Site, of the Missions and the Alamo, but as a creative city of gastronomy, and that was in 2017. And we're only the second city in the nation to have that designation. So we figured, let's get together, let's talk about it, let's celebrate it. And these events are supposed to be very interactive. We've got a great panel here tonight, and we hope that most of the questions can come from you in the audience. So before we begin, I want to say thanks to our event partners that made this all possible. The City of San Antonio World Heritage Office, who oversees and promotes the city's World Heritage status, as well as our City of Gastronomy designation. I want to thank Colleen Swain, Director of the World Heritage Office, who is with us tonight. Thank you, Colleen. And of course, the Polish Heritage Center, located in Panna Maria. And it's been invaluable in us to plan this night. Thank you so much for that. And tonight's event is... And we got to do one of these down in Panna Maria really soon, I think. Has anyone come up from there for tonight?
Well, I'm not from Panama, but I'm from that area.
All right.
Polish Heritage, yeah. The Heritage Center, yes. Everybody from
So a lot of South Texans making their way. This is great. So tonight's event is also made possible thanks to sponsorship from Frost Bank, HEB, and Kiolbassa Smoked Meats, who are here tonight in force with sausage. And one of the best parts about these Great SA series is, we don't just talk, we break bread together. And many of us have full bellies, which will, I think help us have a civil conversation and, maybe show our community and show the world that it's still possible. We can do that, and it's made possible, with all the help and our panelists, and we're really grateful. And we're really grateful to the TPR members and supporters who make events like this possible in our community, and who make public radio news and classical music available free of charge, no paywall, to anybody who wants it all the time. So with that, I'm gonna go to our panel, and I want them to introduce themselves, and then talk about their favorite Polish dish. And for me, I'm gonna start. Mine is potato and cheese pierogies, and if I'm not doing dairy, it'll be cabbage and potato, of course. And let's go in this direction.
Okay, hi. Welcome, everyone. I'm Susan Moczygemba-Mckinsey. I am a daughter of Panna Maria, fourth, fifth generation. Family came over on the 1854 and 1855 boats. I currently am honored to be on the board of the Polish Heritage Center at Panna Maria, and are delighted to be here tonight, especially as we are just a few days away from celebrating Polish Heritage Month, which is the month of October.
My name is Rusty Kiolbassa. I'm a fourth generation part of the Kiolbassa Provision Company here in San Antonio. And I've got to say, my favorite Polish food has got to be kielbasa.
It's your namesake.
We were destined to be sausage makers, I'll say that.
Thank you for being on the panel.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me tonight. My name is Lauren Robinson, and while I don't know yet if I share Polish ancestry with you, I'm still learning. I am very grateful and honored to be employed by the Polish Heritage Center. I am the librarian slash archivist slash historian slash researcher. I'm very grateful to our beloved Bishop Yonta Al Knotson and the board of directors, and thank you for having me here tonight. I'm very excited.
We'll go to Michelle.
Hi, I'm Michelle Waclawczyk. My name means your pig's in my kitchen. Just kidding. Just kidding. Just kidding. Just kidding. I'm not on a board. I'm a retired person. I take care of my grandchildren from my beautiful daughter over here. And I cook Polish food, and I was tricked into being here tonight.
And so I've got my red and my white, and I feel ready to go. I also want to add that I am half Polish. My mom was born in Poland, in Łódź, L-O-D-Z. And also, my uncle, who was born in Poland, is in the audience today, and he actually drove here all the way from Crossville, Tennessee, to be with us tonight. Give him a warm San Antonio welcome. So, Susan, I wanted to start with you, and a question that I had, especially as I'm trying to, connect with my own heritage and the cuisine that, that connects me to everything. And it's hard to find a restaurant that serves Polish food. It's hard to find a Polish deli or a traditional Polish deli. We do see the kielbasa meats at any H-E-B or at any Costco. But when it comes to restaurants or delis, or when it comes to having a section of town, like other groups tend to have and other nationalities have, it's harder to find. And can you speak to why this is, that it's so hard, that Polish culture and food has such an impact on San Antonio, but it's hard to find a restaurant?
Well, there's some, I'm sure, lovely restaurants that have Eastern European food. But it's interesting what you said about the Polish neighborhoods, Polish Quarter. There was a Polish Quarter in San Antonio, a very prominent one that lasted from the mid-1800s probably until 1965. It was located, St. Michael's Church was the hub of it, and it was located where Hemisphere is now. And the church, St. Michael's Church, is where the Tower of the Americas is now. And unfortunately, that neighborhood was demolished because of Hemisphere. But there was a Polish Quarter, very prominent here in San Antonio.
And would you say that part of the reason is just some of these dishes are better cooked at home?
Of course, and I can point to Michelle and go, of course. You'll have restaurants. There are Polish restaurants in Austin. There are Polish restaurants in Houston. There are Polish grocery stores here. But in the rural areas, everyone cooks at home. And everyone will tell you, oh, yeah, Mama's cooking is better than that. So Mama's cooking is better than that. So, of course, I think that's part of the culture, is eating at home and eating the food that you also grow at home.
But at the same time, if we go back to the 1800s and we go back to places like Panna Maria, tough land, a difficult situation. We were talking about Polish pride earlier, and you actually corrected me and you said, instead of Polish pride, we should say Polish resilience. Can you speak to what you mean by that when it comes to the food and the celebration of culture?
Well, pride is also is very important, but resilience, I think the Polish people have shown resilience through the centuries. But when we look at our own folks, they came over, remember, on a boat in 1854, 55. They left a forested, cool climate, and they ended up in South Texas, the wilderness. And my goodness, I'm sure everything that they had ever thought of was going to be a struggle. But as we are prone to say, we always are proud to say, we have faith and resilience. Faith, family, and community will get you through it. And we're a very resilient people. And like I say, it's been shown through the centuries. Lauren could speak to that too.
Yes, the those three themes, faith, community, family, those are three themes that even now are instilled upon myself, from working at the Polish Heritage Center, because those three themes are prevalent throughout the center. And the idea of that resiliency as well, they, as Susan said, they went from, the forest, growing, especially growing different, the different things, the different game that they found there. And then, of course, coming to South Texas, where they had to do the best with what they were given. And I don't know if I'm kind of jumping ahead here, but we start to get into that cultural blending. There was the introduction of corn to the settlers in Panna Maria by, don't judge me, I know I'm the historian, but don't judge me. I believe it was Andreas Coy. He was a Mexican, and he introduced corn. So you see that cultural blending start to happen. And being here in South Texas, it's fascinating.
They didn't call it corn, they called it Turkish wheat.
Yes.
And talking about that blending, and you look at Panna Maria, you look at Czestochowa, and you look at the different towns, in the 1800s, they were very insular communities, yet at the same time, the culture really came to San Antonio throughout the years. Would you say it was sort of a similar experience to, post-World War II U.S. with U.S. troops being in Italy and trying pizza and saying, we've got to have this here, and maybe people traveling from Brownsville, traveling from the Gulf, and at the time you had to travel through those towns to be able to get to San Antonio, that might have had something to do with the kind of blending we see today.
And San Antonio was the hub, and that, in fact, the founder of Panna Maria, Father Leopold Moczygemba, was the missionary and was serving the populations of Castroville and New Braunfels, but he was centered around San Antonio. And the bishop at the time was, he would invite the people, Father Leopold, in fact, invited his brothers, sisters, whoever came in the first wave of immigration. They walked all the way from landing in Galveston and then going all the way to San Antonio. So people stayed in San Antonio too. Many of the early immigrants did stay because they were stonemasons, they were artisans, they had particular crafts that were needed in San Antonio.
So I want to remind everybody in this Great Essay Events, we do want your questions, and we do have two TPR staffers that are in the audience right now. Kristin, if you could wave, and Gavin, if you could wave. Basically, if you raise your hand, we'll be able to come to you with the microphone and get your questions in this great panel. So please raise your hand when you're ready. So I wanted to ask about pride in Poland right now. When you look at the different waves, migration waves throughout history, Poland has been through a lot as a country, from numerous edges in Europe. And it seems as if there is a resurgence right now in many ways. When you look at the way that they're helping Ukrainian refugees, when you look at the kind of military they're even building up and like state presence. Do you feel, I would say, Michelle, if you want to take this one, do you feel that there's any additional pride that has come forth since the war in Ukraine?
Oh, for sure. Our people are helping. They're going out of their way to save lives, to bring the mothers and children in during this time when their men are out fighting. I'm not all men, I don't want to say it that way, but I do know that we have friends who are bringing in mothers and children into their house, and then they're giving them tickets to go see train tickets to go see their families in different places. So it makes us so proud to know that our people are doing that, and the people in our area are sending money to their friends in Poland to do the same thing, to take care of the people. So there's that pride there. You just want to step up and do what you can. Just the way the Polish are, you always help each other out no matter what.
And you were telling me earlier that you encountered a couple of people in the Polish Air Force who were in town.
The airmen, I was watering flowers at church one Saturday, and 2 airmen drove up. I didn't know they were airmen. I was scared and ran off. But then I heard their accent, and I was like, oh, they're Polish. So I went back, and they asked, we're looking for Polish food. They came to Częstochowa looking for a restaurant, and they asked, where can we go to find Polish food? And I told them there's absolutely no place around here, but if you go 2 miles down the road to my house, I'll cook for you. And exchanged addresses with them. They were in Lackland, studying in Lackland, so I gave them my address, and sure enough, they called and said they'd come over the next Sunday, and we made guamki. Mama helped me. We made guamki and pierogi, and I think we had steaks for them or something. We don't do pork for them. Yeah, we did. I did ribeyes or something on the pit. But they showed up. They were so excited. They said it tasted just like their mom, so I was pretty proud about that. That's a pretty big deal in my head. And they brought me Polish vodka. So excited. And Polish chocolate. So I ended up taking the trip to Poland myself to get more vodka. But it was neat that they came to our town thinking because we're Częstochowa that they would find a restaurant. But instead they, found a house, found a mom.
So Rusty, I was going to ask if you could speak to your family's history and its deep ties in San Antonio in this area, and your product becoming a staple for everybody here, regardless of where they're from, their ethnicity, their race.
Absolutely. Well, my direct descendant, Ignaz, traveled over here with his brother Peter, Peter Kiolbassa is a very well-known name in the Polish community. And in 1855, Ignaz stayed here in Texas. Peter went on, fought in the Civil War, actually defected from the Confederacy, fought for the Union, and then proceeded to have a political career up in the Chicago area. So down here in San Antonio, my great-grandfather Rufus founded a butcher shop here in San Antonio called Kiolbassa Provision Company in 1949. And next year, we're actually celebrating 75 years here in San Antonio. Thank you. And we're actually changing the name of our Polish sausage to traditional to celebrate that. So that might be a change that y'all see here coming soon. But it's always been very funny to have the last name Kiolbassa because the first thing people ask me, is that really your last name? Yes. I don't know what else to say, but I like to think that our ancestors made sausage in the homeland, and my great-grandfather put us in a position to continue living that tradition today.
Has anyone bought the movie rights to your family? I was going to say, one interesting thing that everybody on this panel has talked to me about is raising awareness in the community of resources that are available, of events like this, of gatherings, of places where you can celebrate your heritage. And it seems that there's a trend of people coming from Poland and coming to Panna Maria and to Texas to be able to get in touch with this great story. And can you talk a little bit about those efforts, to attract tourism and people from Poland looking to come here?
So one of the things, especially right now, if maybe some people aren't aware, we do have a new executive director. Her name is Alice Poor. I don't know where she is, but she's somewhere up here. And she has us on this trajectory for an amazing advertising campaign. We're looking at billboards. We're expanding into classrooms among the communities of Karnes County, Fall City, different schools, trying to excite the younger generations now to start bringing that awareness to the youth and to get them involved. We're just trying, we're still October 23rd will be our 2-year anniversary of opening our doors. So for a place like this, we are still in our infancy, but we are on the path, I feel, right now to really getting our names out there. And we have had a lot of visitors, especially this summer, from Poland, and just from all over the world, but particularly we saw an influx of from actual Poland this year. And they find out, I remember we had a visitor one time, he subscribed. He had a YouTube channel in Poland, and so we had that. That helped bring in people. They saw this gentleman's YouTube. So we're really trying to get our names out there right now, like just to bring them in.
Can you talk more about the Heritage Center and what it means, what has gone into it? I mean, besides being the newest building by far in the area and a really amazing thing to see, what kind of services does it offer? What are the long-term plans for the Heritage Center?
If I may start at least,
Yes,
and we'll just jump in. It all started with the vision of one man, and that was Bishop John W. Yanta. He was, many of you knew him. He was an amazing, amazing individual and well-loved here in San Antonio. Bishop Yanta was the visionary behind the Polish Heritage Center. He wanted the people to remember the stories, remember their ancestors, remember the people who came before, and make sure that the younger generation also understands the stories and the people that came before and what they went through and how they have succeeded and thrived, and also to understand and appreciate their culture and being Polish. It took him, and I look at Al because Al was with him, Al Knotson, who is the chairman of our board, was with him every step of the way, and it probably, and I know many people in here were also with him many along the way. It was a journey of 10 years to get the Heritage Center built, but it was built largely, almost primarily, with local donations from the locals in Karnes County. So we are very proud of our 16,000-foot Heritage Center. It is, as Bishop Yanta would say, state-of-the-art, first class. And what we do is I like to tell people as I take them through, I tell them that we show you the history of Poland, but what we do then is weave in how our people came in 1855. Why 1854? My people came in 1855. Okay. Why they left their area in Poland up to Silesia. What all of the factors that went into it, because it was a beautiful area. It was a beautiful area, but there were a lot of factors that went into, including Prussian army conscripting their sons. There was the land ownership was was not very good for them. They didn't have the right to even hunt, and so it was. When Father Leopold was here in the mid 1850s, he saw that things were pretty good for the German populations that he was serving. So he wrote letters home to his family, and in the first boat, the family came, four brothers, their families, and also about 90-something other families came on that in that first wave of immigration. But those are some of the stories that Bishop Yanta wanted the new generations to know about. We kind of always did when we were coming up, and when we were growing up. Yeah, we knew about the stories, but I don't think we understood the significance of them, and that's what he wanted to do. And so you give them the opportunity to see the history of Poland, but also see how this immigration, the first of the Texas immigrations, came into and wove through that history.
Thank you for that.
I would just like to add that was beautiful, but I would like to add, like you mentioned, some of the services, going back again to those three themes: faith, family, community. You will find that in giant letters when you come to the center. Something I was very fortunate to be hired by Bishop Yanta, and I learned a great deal from him. The center is it's meant not just, of course, it prides itself, on helping Polish descendants find roots and from that area, but it's also for everybody. Because within those three themes, anyone can identify and relate, and maybe even inspire you to start looking into your own past, into your own family histories. And we pride ourselves on being very accessible. You'll find in certain parts of the center, we have English, Polish, and Spanish. We have audio wands. They're free of purchase. Visitors can use them to listen to each stanchion as well, in addition to the information, of course, that's written there. And we offer them in English, Spanish, Polish, and we also have a children's version, which I hear is very good. Some adults prefer
Yes.
that.
It's great.
We have an audience question.
Thank you. So, being that the food is something that we talked about, we find it in homes. What's being done to preserve, the recipes? And this may be an archivist question, but how far back of recipes do you have going back? What are you doing in the center just to keep these things going?
So thank you. One of the things we do is we do have a collection of cookbooks. Cookbooks they're a very, very wonderful source of intangible history. They're records that were passed down. You're not going to find it you're not going to find that recipe anywhere else, as all recipes, and Michelle can attest to that. Yes, it's family traditions. It's keeping those recipes, and those cookbooks are helping preserve cultural identity and traditions and customs. So we do welcome Polish cookbooks and Polish recipes. And we also that was heavily featured in an exhibit the Polish Heritage Center did in the last couple of years for honoring Polish women throughout history. And Polish cookbooks and recipes, those cultural traditions, was heavily focused during that exhibit, and bringing like Michelle. Michelle, you were in that exhibit, correct? Yes.
Thank you.
So to give to give them a voice and to give them a part. We focused heavily on cookbooks and recipes.
A lot of the churches in our area make their own cookbooks as well. The women turn them in, their recipes. And this past year, we made our own for our 150th anniversary that our church celebrated Sestahova, Nativity of the Blessed Virgin Mary. And during that time, the lady that was writing the book for us or typing it up, she asked us for recipes that we only have in our heads. Like dumplings, chicken and dumplings. That's something my mom made them, but she made drop dumplings. My mother-in-law made the rolled dumplings. And every weekend we had dumplings. So for most people, it's a treat because they're excited to have them. For me, I'm like, oh my God, dumplings again. But when she asked for the recipe, I thought, I don't have that recipe. So I had to actually mix it up and write as I was making everything. So that's in the cookbooks as well. But that's how we had to get everything out of our head and put it into a book.
Can you give some more examples of the kinds of dishes that are in that special cookbook?
Oh gosh, it's out there for sale. It's $20. There's only 10 or 9 books there.
You have your cabbage roll,
Guamki's
which is
in
a
there. Guamki's in
variation
there.
of Glumki.
Well, I have guamki in there, and then there's cabbage. I think there's a cabbage casserole
Yeah,
inside
that's
there,
the
and so instead of rolling it into the little cabbage to make the little pigeon, right? Is that right? Pigeon? Okay. Guamki's pigeon, right? I don't speak Polish. I hear it and I can say the bad words. And I can get beer. Zimno piwo. I can do that too. I don't drink it, but I can order it. Because I'm underage. Just kidding. Anyway, if you don't roll it, you just kind of chop it all up and mix it together, and it's just as delicious. But my husband thinks it's a Mexican recipe. He doesn't realize it's Polish, and he doesn't see the cabbage in there. He sees the rice. So as long as it's fine. But yeah, I don't know what else would be out there. There's the cookies. I guess there's sugar cookies, which everybody has, but Grandma made the best, and we call them Polish sugar cookies. Coffee cake. Oh, yes, coffee cake. Okay? Sugar cookies. Suhe kekse? Dry cookies. Okay, well, coffee cake, though. How many people in here think coffee cake has coffee in it?
I did it first. I'm not gonna lie.
You just drink coffee when you're eating the coffee cake, but it's a very, very delicious cake. And my grandmother made the best, and I don't have her recipe. Sorry. There is a prune cake recipe somewhere I sent in, but it's delicious. Don't laugh at it. Prune coffee cake is amazing. Yeah.
And on this side.
We have another audience question.
I know that the Polish are noted for their hospitality, and right now, in this time of the year, they have homecomings in each of the Polish communities. And of course, one of the things that happens is the main feature is the meal. And the question I have is are you in Czestochowa getting ready for your celebration?
Yes.
Are you in Santa Maria getting ready for your
Oh, my
celebration?
yes. Oh,
When are
my
those
yes.
happening?
The workers list is out. Can I add you to it? we need workers. We serve about 1,500 or plus plates at these dinners, and the line is long, but it's worth the wait. It's a really delicious turkey and dressing meal we have sweet potatoes, green beans, and of course the gravy on there, and you have a bread roll. It's $12, and it's fantastic.
The fun thing about Czestochowa is that the Altar Society was doing a social for the big turkey shoot, which was every fall. And the men's club did a turkey shoot. They weren't shooting turkeys, people. They were shooting targets and winning turkeys, because my brother won a bunch. But then Monsignor Jurgajtis said, why don't you ladies just do a turkey dinner? It's not easy, people. In Santa Maria, we do a turkey dinner for 4,000. And it's a week-long affair, and getting people, the work and wrapping up the turkeys, and a 3-day thing it takes a field general to go through the dressing operation and stuff. And the folks in charge of the sweet potatoes are up there in the audience, and they can tell you how that is all working out. But and people start baking we're a week away, 2 weeks away from ours.
Yours is
A little more than a week away. I can promise you, people have already started baking and putting stuff in the freezer so you could have some of the cornbread, the pastries that are going to be used, cut up so that everybody gets a piece of the pastry, and then you can buy some too. So it really is a long, drawn out affair, but it seems to go by so quickly. I don't know. We usually we go through the 4,000 or so from 10:30 till about 1, and food's gone.
We've got another audience question.
And then right before that one, we have this one in the queue.
Well, since you've got us all drooling, thank you very much. And now I'm thinking a little selfishly. I'm going to make that little drive down to Santa Maria and go visit the center. Now, when can I look forward to having a cafe where I can indulge in all of these wonderful, wonderful recipes? Wouldn't that be a great draw?
Oh,
It's coming. It just
don't
takes
we
time.
know? What do you
Somebody
mean?
will do it.
Somebody will do it.
I mean, Rusty, could you speak to that? Because you have a brand that is huge, and the kinds of things that you're talking about and this kind of food would have major appeal in our community and across the country. Can you speak to what it takes to build this into different businesses, restaurants, cafes, all over South Texas?
Well, I think it's safe to say everybody loves authentic, good food, and if you bake it with love, then you're gonna do something great. I saw something the other day. If you're not willing to put crock-pot time into it, don't be. Or if you're not willing to put crock-pot one more time. If you're only willing to put microwave time into it and expect crock-pot quality, you're not doing it right.
Oh,
So
nice.
that is,
nice.
it's just with love and care. We do everything in small batches at Kiolbassa the same way we did it 74, now coming up on 75 years. And that just resonates well with people.
Although I imagine it is more expensive to build a business that way.
It is. We definitely do it the hard way. And we do. I mean, we're not the cheapest sausage out there, but people want good sausage. And we've seen that people are willing to pay for it.
And I would say there really is an appetite in San Antonio for more. So I don't know if that's something the Heritage Center is those kind of conversations are, if they're convening those kind of conversation amongst stakeholders.
There has been discussion about, well, maybe just ideas thrown around about food trucks, like a Polish food truck. So anyone in a food truck business, you got your market, come on down. You'll make a killing.
Man, we are a food truck city.
Yeah.
And I think we could definitely use some more diversity in some of our food trucks and some of those parks. And thank you for that. Let's go to another audience question.
Okay. I heard a lot about what, I heard a lot about how, and I heard a lot about where. I didn't hear when. When are these festivals?
October 15th.
Thank you.
October 15th.
in Sestahova?
Yes.
Yeah. October 8th is Panamaria.
Thank you.
There's a flyer outside. Please take one with you.
Okay.
And then I'll drive yours right after the next one.
Yes. Yes. I didn't. Oh, when is theirs? They don't do a turkey dinner. They don't do it anymore. Yeah, the best fried chicken ever is Fall City. On the side
Fall
note.
City.
Yeah, best fried chicken ever. Labor Day weekend.
Labor Day weekend
You'll
is Fall
never have
City.
fried chicken
Everybody
that
has
good.
a festival. Kosciuszko is in August.
Last
And then
Fall City's
Labor
Labor
Day is Fall
Fall
City.
City's Labor Day.
Santa Maria's turkey dinner. Homecoming is October 8th. Sestahova is the following week. St. Hedwig is the weekend before Thanksgiving. These are all festivals. These are all community and church festivals that we really invite people to come and see. You have lots of great food, but you also have a lot of community, and you get to play bingo and go to an auction and just have a good time. Drink some pivo.
Yes.
Yeah, it's been known to happen.
Sausage dinner.
Post does not.
No.
No, they just do a big $100 ticket party dance. That's it. Yeah, Post. Yeah, but Sestahova does have two. We have the picnic in May, and we have the turkey dinner in October.
And if you're not of Polish descent, how can you expect to enjoy and be introduced to these festivals and these traditions?
You don't have to be a Polish descent.
Yeah, many aren't.
As a not Polish descent that I know of yet, when I first started working for the center, and the first couple of events I went to, I mean, they did not care that I was not Polish. If anything, I had people tell me, well, you're Polish for today. You know, it's very welcoming. Everyone is very kind, very nice. And yeah, here, take more plates. Here's all the food. I mean, it's fantastic. Even if you're not Polish, it's wonderful.
Well, here we are at Texas Public Radio, putting it on blast and letting everybody know about this. And I feel like when people hear about it and people hear about these quick road trips that are possible to really to take part in this, that you'll probably get more people coming from this growing community of over 2 million people. Are the communities ready to welcome a lot more people from San Antonio for these festivals?
Heck yeah. We
We invite them all.
We
And
have
that's
room.
why we're so proud to have so many of the professional tour guides, newly minted, in our audience, because that's what they will be doing. They will be telling the stories for their people here in San Antonio. Those day trips are very, very important to us, but also very, very important to the people that come to San Antonio.
Just so we're on the same page about the history, going back a little bit, can you talk about the different migration waves of the Polish people coming to Texas?
I'd be glad to, and I can't take credit for it. I credit my another board member, Dr. Jim Maserkevich, who is from Texas A&M. Now, he's an ag guy, but his passion is Texas Polonia, and he teaches a wonderful course on Texas Polonia in the fall through the University of St. Thomas. Highly recommend it. Anyway, there are 4 major migrations, from Poland to Texas. The South Texas was the first, 1854, 55, 56, those. The second was to the Brazos Valley, which is in East Texas. And it was brought about after the Civil War because after the Emancipation Proclamation, the slaves were freed. Somebody had to work those plantations in East Texas. And so the people brought, in fact, it was a Jewish gentleman named Meyer Levi who brought the Poles over and had them, they were working on the plantations. And after a couple of years, they would buy land. They were sort of, I don't like calling them indentured because they really weren't, but they were hired on to do the work, and then they bought their land, and they live there now. In fact, St. Joseph's in Bryan, which is a Polish church, just celebrated its 150th this year also. So that was the second one. The third was the Solidarity immigration there in the 80s. And then the fourth is relatively recent. It's in the 2000s, probably 2005 until recently, and it's oil and gas, and it's to the Houston area. And these are the engineers and the folks that work in the oil and gas industry and accompanying industries. Those are the four major Polish migrations to Texas.
I was going to ask, thinking about some of the Polish Jewish cuisine that my grandparents ate, a lot of it was food that was it was cheap, it was easy to make, it was good for a hard land. And nowadays we're talking about delicacies, and like in the 1800s and these migration waves that you're talking about, this was food that was meant for survival. When I talk about some of the Jewish foods, for instance, the pastrami sandwich or the bagel, I don't know if you know that the bagel was actually invented in Poland. But those are very pricey now when you try to get them. And I would say a question I have is, do you think that as people find out more about this cuisine and as people connect to it more, that it's going to start to get more expensive? Yeah.
I don't know. Eggs and flour, which make the best noodles for chicken noodle soup,
And
aren't ever going to
cabbage.
get. Yeah.
No. That's good to know.
Michelle's just shaking her. She's the cook in the group.
Poor man's food.
Yeah,
Still a poor man's.
poor man's delicious food.
I could see though once I can see what you mean though, especially with the bagels. I mean, you can't walk into a Starbucks now and get it. You're looking at $5-6 bagels, and I can remember growing up, I can remember tacos and stuff that I would take to school, and other people would be like, ugh, and now everybody wants tacos. So I think once like everyone has mentioned, Polish food doesn't have a huge market here in this city, and we're in other cities as well, wherever they are. So I feel like once the secret's out, once everyone tries all these pierogies and these it's gonna go up.
Well, maybe not a market that they know of. So I mean,
Yeah,
right. So it's
exactly.
like anybody eating sausage inside a tortilla is eating Polish food, right?
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
And it's called,
Taco Palacos.
there
There
you
you
go.
go.
And then we have a couple of more questions from the audience.
Hello, thank you all very much. And Mo Brown here. I am a wee bit Polish, Santa Maria heritage and San Antonio downtown. But one of my questions is talking about what did you call it? Taco Palaco? So
Yes.
can somebody talk about, because I know we in South Texas aren't, we don't have pierogies, restaurants and things and all the traditional. I think that comes from the solidarity movement with, Houston, Austin, the newer Polish immigrants coming. Can you speak about in South Texas? I know Michelle talked a little bit, it's in the home, but the blend of our cuisine, the Polish with South Texas and Mexican. Thank you. And then also, two-part question. For the first wave, it'd be nice to mention the 13 settlements, which ones? Because we're all over the place, from McCook to to white deer, just for the record. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for reminding me to mention that. The communities, the heritage communities do go. Panna Maria was the first and was the hub, and you have Sestahova, you have a number of them in the South Texas area, but we do go as far as White Deer, which is in the Texas Panhandle. It's because a couple of the guys, or 3 guys from that, the original immigration said, let's go see what's on the other side of the, on the other side. And they keep looking. It's the same way with Bandera. They wanted to be cowboys. So they went up to Bandera, and Bandera was the second community or heritage community founded. Anyway, going back to what Mo was talking about, that marriage of cuisines actually happened right away, because, as I mentioned, when the Poles landed in 1854, not particularly knowing, leaving a forested area for South Texas wilderness, not really knowing what they were encountering, including rattlesnakes, that they would have starved. Some of those settlements would have not made it, were it not for the Mexican neighbors that gave them a helping hand and taught them things like corn and the other things that got them through. So yeah, I would think the amalgamation started almost immediately. That, you couldn't find a lot of there are not mushrooms that grow that you'd want to eat in South Texas.
Well, I'll add on to that. Where we get taco polaco from, the fusion of Mexican and Polish cuisines. With our location on the west side, my grandfather, when he took over the business, grew very close with the Hispanic community over there. We employed a lot of individuals from that area, and we had a few people come up to him and said, "Hey, Bobby, how about you make the sausage about 5 inches?" Because they used to be, about, we made a lot of rings and with a lot of rope sausage that were like 7, 8 inches long, where you cook it as an ingredient in a dish. We had a suggestion to make it 5 inches so it would fit in a tortilla, and now, never look back now. That's our standard size sausage. So thanks to the Mexican community here in San Antonio, we innovated.
And it's not just food too. I mean, looking at the resurgence of conjunto music and teatro music as well. I mean, the accordion is very Polish, right? Do you take pride in the resurgence of conjunto as your own music?
I don't think I've ever thought of it as it's the music, but it's a pleasure to be able to listen and be able to see, hear the blending of the beats and stuff. I think I mentioned it once before. Actually, this is another story from Dr. Maserkevich, Dr. Jim. He said, listen to Johnny Cash's music, and you will hear 3/4 Polish. Everything was 3/4 Polish. So it's pretty amazing. He would, get him on your show one of these days, and he'll talk Polish and the amount, the marriage of music.
I'm trying to hear the Johnny Cash in my head.
Yeah. Thing of Ring of Fire. Ding, ding, ding. Yeah, never mind. Another day.
I know for me, again, I can't speak to my Polish heritage, but when I was hired on at the Polish Heritage Center, the first thing I did was go home and gush to my parents about it, to my mom and dad. And my dad took a super, super big interest in it. He's Mexican American, and he just started with, all the stories. He's like, where Cajuto comes from, right? Where we got, where the accordion and Little Joe, all this, right? He was like, you're there now. And so it made me start asking questions. I remember having this huge, long talk with Bishop Yanta about not just the cultural blending of the music, the accordion into that, but also the food. He said, tamales are a huge staple dish now. I think they even have them at the turkey dinner, right? If I'm correct.
They're easily.
And then you had, one of the most fascinating things I remember him telling me was a lot of the early settlers, they learned Spanish before they learned English. Polish, Spanish, English. So to me, it's just fascinating to see that down here, that history and that combination. It's really cool.
Thank you for that. Let's go to another audience question.
I have a question about sausage, having lived like in North Texas, Austin. So Ennis has, its, I guess, festivals, ethnic festivals, and sausage. Then there's always Elgin or Elgin near Austin. How do you differentiate Polish sausage from the other, types of sausage in Texas?
It's a great question. So Polish sausage is traditionally pork and garlic are the two main ingredients in there, and the garlic is what really differentiates it from other types of sausage, like a bratwurst or even just a beef sausage. I mean, there's not a lot of beef sausage, even though we make it a kielbassa, but it's really pork is the biggest attribute that makes a Polish sausage a Polish sausage.
We've got another audience question.
The growing up in Częstochowa and not really knowing all the history as becoming a board member and Bishop Yainta, but there was a lady, Valerie Grace. She was at the Institute of Texan Cultures when they had the big fiesta. And she introduced me to some of the Polish foods, the pierogis, the placki and stuff. So there have been people along the way that's been bringing us back. And finally, Bishop Yainta says, with a hammer almost, to get us to really realize, because it was dying. The culture was dying. We were being Americanized. And so we had this mix of stuff, but really understanding why they came here and all the other stories, and then even going to Poland to visit. So, there's St. Hedwig, Lavernia, there's Floresville, there's Kosciuszko, there's Falls City, there's Polk. They're just inundated with Polish heritage. And we've blended with German a lot of German. So I can see that the question would be like, how can you not see the Polish? We've been under the weather, under the radar a lot, I think.
It totally feels like the Polish community in South Texas has been under the radar when you compare it to the German experience, if to use that one comparison. Susan, can you speak to that point about, this idea that, the heritage was almost gone at one point and it needed a concerted effort of awareness to be able to get to the point where we're at now?
It's interesting asking someone like me who grew up in it, or even Michelle. We never left our heritage.
Right.
It was always there. I would imagine, and also I left, and worked out in the world for, 40-something years and came back. And you look at what maybe the differences are, but I think you will find that there are places like these communities, the rural communities, where the heritage is still very strong. They may not wear it on their sleeves, but it is a very, very strong heritage. In the cities, in urban areas, it's a little harder to keep it up. But I really don't, I really don't see that we ever were in danger of losing it. I think what Laura is referring to is having the youngsters understand it and appreciate it. Making sure that the younger generations understand where they came from, like we grew up understanding where we came from. And I think that's important not only for Poles, but for any ethnic group, so that the people, if you know where you came from, there's a comfort, there's a foundation in that makes life just more of a joy, frankly.
Another audience question.
Well, I think they kind of asked it about the Polish sausage, where you said it was more pork and garlic, but you used to only sell it during 1 month. It was only in June that you used to sell it, and now I used to drive to buy a case, because that's the only time of year you could buy it and freeze it and everything. So what do you attribute to the popularity that you're now selling it year round?
It's a great question too. I would say I think people were looking for a good sausage, to be honest, and we rose to the occasion, and we were able to grow it and scale it up to where people and at one point this summer we were selling it in Hawaii, and far-reaching, and now I think we're now in military commissaries across the sea. I believe we're in the Pacific right now, the Pacific Rim, like Japan, Taiwan, South Korea. But it's been amazing to see the growth. I really just believe that people were looking for good sausage, and we were able to provide that for them. And I have a lot of pride in saying that.
It looks like we have time for one more question.
We have a couple of more audience questions.
Okay, so I'm not sure about being the last question. It's more of like a talking point. So I'm full Polish, grew up from kind of competing Polish towns. Like there's the Fall City and then there's the St. Edward side, depending on mom and dad. And it's interesting because you brought up a point on what makes a Polish recipe. And it's my dad's side, which is more cityfied, has their strong beliefs, but my mom's side, whose culture is so much stronger and they're very rural, it really was what could they afford at the time, what ingredients. So my favorite story from my grandmother, who just passed away at 99, she would say it was a small town. They had no access to grocery stores. It was what neighbors had what. And it was very shared. And that's basically where most of the recipes that they had, other than the fact that they didn't have a lot of money and so everything was chicken and everything was eggs, according to my mom. But it was what did the neighbor have? What did they have? What could they share with one another to make their dishes? And it's more of that. So I feel like Michelle kind of understands it because I think so she's out from where my family's from. But is there a way that you look at it as what has made your Polish recipes? Because if you ask my grandmother, it's whatever we had that season and what actually grew
seasonal.
in our garden. And I've made some of my grandma's recipes with HEB bought stuff, and it absolutely does not taste the same. It almost has to be like it has to be from your garden.
Yes,
But
it's still that way today. We still eat from the garden. My mother-in-law taught me how to grow a garden. Mom did a garden too. I don't want to criticize her. She's great. But I live by my mother-in-law as far as cooking that part of my life. And she taught me how important gardening was and chickens were. And of course, my husband raises cattle. Anybody needs a bull, we can sell you bulls. Angus bulls, best bulls around. But yeah, we still cook that way. Whatever we have, and we share with the neighbors. If I go on vacation, my neighbors come and take care of my garden, and they take all the vegetables with them, and then they bring me back canned tomatoes or canned okra, whatever they have. So it's still that way today, and you cook whatever you could afford to cook. Like we had, we called them marigats, which is tripas. Yeah. My mother-in-law, and we had chicken feet too. We had those. It was gross, but yeah. And cow tongue. My mom gave me $5 to try cow tongue. It was really good. But yeah, you ate the whole cow, and that's something else I wanted to say is, growing up in San Antonio, people were always saying, "Oh, we had steak last night." And I'm like, "We had steak all the time."
Yeah.
Because you had a cow you butchered, so it was different life. It's almost you're almost snotty sounding, but you're like, "You want steak again?"
Yeah,
That's just how we ate.
I would say a lot of people would say that a lot of people would want to be able to have that lifestyle, and it's difficult
I
in the
love it.
city, But with this cuisine, maybe there's a way to get more people growing their own gardens in different ways, tending to their own gardens, figuring out a way to do that, to eat that healthily, and to be able to do that healthy practice. So that could be really interesting. Let's go to a couple of more audience questions to get them in.
Yes, we have about 3 to 4 more questions, and then we'll start wrapping it up.
Thank you, Kiolbassa, for the beautiful surprise. Thank you, Susan, to be our friend in January for one day in PTJSC group, and you quit because of your Polish Heritage Center. We and Colleen, our group Yanaguanas, wish you all the best.
Those are the tour guides, professional tour guides, people.
I have very new friends, Rebecca and all public radio that we thank you so much. And thank you to Barbara Kwiatkowski. She is the library director. Now I have direct proposition for you to Europa restaurant is a Polish food. They have 12 European country food. That's why there are 2 Bulgarian owners. I'm Bulgarian. I engage myself to organize Polish evening for Christmas. Please contact me. It's for me.
And where is the restaurant for people?
Europa.
Europa. Okay.
Yeah, it's on
Fredericksburg
the
Road.
other side of 410, I think.
All right. One more question over here.
Well, I know how much pork plays a role in the cuisine of the Central European and Eastern European countries. I'm a Czech. I'm a 5th generation Moravian Czech. And one of the things that I enjoyed very much growing up was my grandmother's version of a goulash, which was a pork and paprika and seasoning that was kind of spicy and nice with lots of garlic too. And I know that the Slovaks have something of that sort. And I was wondering if the Poles also have a goulash category of stew, soup type of thing. It seems like it would be a natural fit.
You talked about that.
Well, I know my grandparents in Poland had their own goulash, and it was a beef goulash, with kosher meat. But I wanted to ask, what is today in 2023? What kind of goulashes are you making?
I think we just call it stew.
There's a hunter stew called bigos that for my friends from Austin, the Austin Polish Society has a bigos competition every year. So that's a very hearty stew.
Let's go to another audience question.
Thank you so much. First of all, we love the chorizo from Kiolbassa. We
Thank
cook
you.
it all. My brother calls it longaniza. In Mexico, that's what it's kind of known for. We love it. But ladies, I would like to ask you, what kind of dishes do you prepare with corn, with maize? What did you learn to make with that when you blended the cuisines?
I do okra with corn and tomatoes and okra. I do that. And then I just do
Cornbread.
Yeah, there's cornbread, but then just like cream corn.
You start with corn on the cob. You
Yeah.
pick it, and when it's just really fresh, you can almost eat it right off, off of the stalk. But just a little, prepared, just heated up just a little bit, and then with salt and a little butter. Still the best.
So do we have 1 to 2 more audience questions, I believe, out there? One more, all right.
Yep, we're gonna wrap it up with our final audience question.
One of the things I think is the biggest influence in Polish food in Texas between the rural area and the urban area was the fact that electricity came. Prior to that, there was no refrigeration, and we're talking up to about late 20s, 30s. When rural electrification came, people started getting foods that they could prepare and store and save. And so that changed the diet a lot. And that's why you'll find a lot of the Polish, the traditional home country food is not here because it just wasn't kept in refrigeration in rural areas.
I still remember my grandmom's ice box, and literally you put a thing of ice on it, and whatever lasted as long as the ice lasted was what you had. So, but we were blessed. We were totally blessed. You had milk, eggs. You had lots of milk. You had cows, so you had lots of milk. You had butter. You made your own cottage cheese or farmer's cheese. You made your own sausage on occasion. That was always a joy.
As big as this room.
And grew chickens, took care of chickens. That was country living back then, and it was a joy. It really was. And some folks are still lucky enough to experience that.
Well, on that note, I just want to say thank you to our panelists for sharing your heritage, your expertise, your family traditions with us. We thank you.